Welcome to the All Things Nerd Podcast, Season 3, Episode 2. We're back on Twitch, live, twitch.tv/MaliceCorp on Fridays, 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, here every Friday to talk all things nerd. We talk about the geek, the nerd, and the pop culture news and headlines that are going on, and have a bit of fun and games going on with it as well. On tonight's show, we're going to be talking about some details that fell for the Star Trek Picard series, which sounds interesting. We're also going to talk about Game of Thrones' prequel, what we know so far about it, with some other Game of Thrones tidbits that have dropped as well. And lastly, smart toilets. You know you want to stay around just to hear about that. Smart toilets. So yeah, sit back, relax, enjoy the show. Drop a comment. If you're here in the chat, make sure to talk to us live and be a part of the show, because we talk about what you're talking about as well. Hello to all the geek enthusiasts and nerd aficionados. Mess 5150 here with another All Things Nerd Podcast, Season 3, Episode 2. We're still doing this. I don't know how, but we're still doing this. You have me, your host, Mess 5150 here on the cast. Along with me, I've got a fine group of geek enthusiasts and nerd aficionados also joining me on the cast. First and foremost, I have Icy Zorro with me. How goes it, sir?
Fantastic. I just finished binging. It's the later part, but I'm doing well. I've got all sorts of nerd stuff going through my brain right now.
Also joining us for the first time in 2019, we have Nick from Nerd Mosh Pit joining us on the cast. Hello.
How's it going? Glad to be on since I wasn't able to make it last week.
Yeah.
Hope you all miss me.
The last minute drop. I can't come. No, luckily we have a big group to mix and match with. Joining us for a second week in a row, we have Nudie Rudy on the cast, our editor-in-chief. How goes it, sir?
It's going great. Happy to be here and join this big group of nerds around
here. Around here. And then we have
Adam Duritz.
We have our host of the Smack Talk podcast, which the new episode just dropped on YouTube, Stitcher, and iTunes today. So you guys should go check that out. But Masonic Vader's here with us on the cast. How are you, sir?
I am pumped, sir. It is playoff time for football. I am sporting the team. I won't buy anything for them, but I'm definitely sporting the players. And yeah, I'm excited about some other stuff we'll be talking about in a minute too. Let's get this thing rolling.
And that was the last time that we had Masonic Vader on our cast.
Hating.
Where'd he go?
Yeah, my team's not in it. And lastly, but not leastly, we brought it up last week. This is how we're going to start announcing it. She puts the her in nerd. She is our female persuasion, which people hate us saying, so that's why we're saying it the other way. She puts the her in nerd. Her, not heard, her. The H is silent, and it is invisible, but Super Hoovian Freak is on the cast. And she's muted.
Sorry. I was just laughing anyways because that was a really funny intro. Chargers.
Haters.
Wherever you want to root for.
Hey, go Bolts, man.
And we have Polyfuse in the chat room. Hello, we got Beacon, our Chewbacca is in the chat room. Polly joining us for the first time in the chat room this year. Hey, Red Meepaw, Sir Talmor. We got a lot of people in there. And, of course, our producer extraordinaire, who's not here on the cast, but you can chit-chat with him as he complains about how terrible we are. Jack Malice is in the chat room as well. So
that's kind of his job, right?
Yeah, you know, he's the motivation, let me tell you. He's the coach.
His name is Jack Malice, and he is a motivational speaker.
Let's get into the actual cast. What we always start out with is what we've been geeking out on, what we've been nerding out on, what geeky things we've been doing. For me, it has been all the forefront of the channel. Whether it's here, twitch.tv/MaliceCorp, or it's at our YouTube channel, youtube.com/C/MaliceCorp. or our home site, which presents all this at malice-corp.com, www in front of that. I've been working on things for that. So, first and foremost, if you are a subscriber to this channel and you're a $4.99 subscriber, you now have a new emoticon that is our logo that you can use down in the emotes. If you're a $9.99 subscriber, you get to use the epic beard emoticon. So have fun with that, guys. So, and then we have some more videos coming. Got the Smack Talk video up, and look, Masonic Vader's using the Malice Corp
Yes!
emoticon.
Yes!
So there's a reason to subscribe. You can make little signal, little items now.
Yes.
But beyond that, Icy, what have you been geeking out on?
I just finished binging Travelers on Netflix, which I'd never heard of before, and I guess the season 3 just came out in December. Really engaging show. Decent acting. It took me a while to get used to Will from Will and Grace being some sort of tough FBI agent guy, but interesting conceit for a sci-fi show, and I really liked it.
Nice. What about you, Super?
Have I been binging out on?
Or what have you been geeking out on?
Geeking. Oh, excuse me. I'm jumping ahead. Binging, geeking. Mostly this week, I've actually just been playing a lot of World of Warcraft. New patches dropped. New characters were getting up. Me, Red, or Pryden, who's not here tonight because he's working. All of us, we've just been running our butts off, literally, on World of Warcraft. So it's been fun.
Nice. Masonic?
Well, you know what? Outside the fact of the playoff football, you get your kid a Nintendo Switch for Christmas. You start playing around with it. You go to the shop. The next thing you know, you download Punch-Out. And now you're just in a happy world. And I'm talking about Punch-Out from the video car arcade games, green face, green body, glass.
Before it was Mike Tyson's Punch-Out.
Absolutely, man. I can't believe how many old school games they have on there. I'm excited to introduce my kid to real video games.
And then Nudie, how about you? By the way, I just switched over to the Malice Corp channel just so I could throw the epic beard up since Son of Maku is in the chat room.
Yeah, still been enjoying the crap out of Assassin's Creed Origins, and I've been watching the most recent season of Cutthroat Kitchen a lot lately too. Love those food shows, man. That's a good one.
Nice. And then lastly, Nick, what have you been geeking out on?
First of all, I would like to mention that my team, probably the most prestigious and reputable team in all the NFL, are also
Cowgirls.
We actually have something called a Super Bowl, unlike the Chargers. 5 of them to be exact, 8 Super Bowl appearances. But other than that, I've been binge watching a lot of documentaries. I watched The Innocent Man, which is really good. I really enjoy that. I've watched Making a Murderer 2. Also, really good. Probably it's not as good as the first, but still very good. Bird Box. Only watched half of it because I had a football game that I wanted to watch, and it never got back.
Not because it put you to sleep.
And that is it. And God of War. I've been really diving into that game as well, and I can't stress how awesome that game is.
Awesome. Yeah, I haven't gotten to play God of War yet. I have too many games left to play, so I haven't gotten to it.
First world problems, right?
It looks like the big thing that is a lot of chatter in the chat room is Mary Poppins.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I love Emily Blunt. I just don't feel the need to watch a Mary Poppins remake, personally. I mean, I hear it's well done. That Son of Maku is somebody to trust on that, so maybe.
Maybe not in the theater. Maybe just rent it when it comes out. Then no one has to know.
Yeah, we all know that the best redo of Mary Poppins was in Guardians of the Galaxy 2. Y'all.
It wasn't Princess Leia floating in space and zooming herself back to the.
Good Lord, that's a good call.
That was awful, but yeah.
And Talmor says he's revisiting
pull out
Banner
her bag.
Saga and getting ready for Civilization 6 DLC. So, but yeah, there's all types of Mary Poppins love in the chat room. So, they say that you should go watch it. In fact, our two compatriots, Big Papa Matt and Beacon, are there in the chat room. They watched 100 movies in a calendar year last year in the theaters. We got some new episodes coming. But they're even saying, go watch Mary Poppins. It's so good. So, yes, I said compatriot. So,
Real-time chat. I love it.
If you're not here for the chat, you don't know what's going on right now. Yeah, so let's get into we started something back up last week that we hadn't done in a while, and it was getting prepared for the Epic Beardos, and that is our awards of what was the best things in pop culture, geek, and nerd culture from 2018, and we currently have our first nerd fight of 2019 going on right now. Nerd fight! Last week was just doing the picks. This week is where we throw the gloves off and we actually say why people should be voting and why you shouldn't be voting for other shows. It is a nerd fight after all, so there may be some mean words said. It's all in fun, but don't pick anything but Altered Carbon. So we're going to talk about where everybody's at in the standings. And why you should be picking the other shows over at malice-corp.com. Scroll to the bottom of the webpage and you will see the poll there, and you can vote on it every 12 hours to make sure that your pick wins for the best of 2018 in best binge watch. That's what we were doing, and we have 1 week left on this. So far, at the bottom in the voting is the fan pick, and because he is such a fan of the show, we brought him on to talk about it and to tell us why people should be going and voting for the show. But Santa Clarita Diet leads the bottom at 1 vote. So Nick, why should people be voting for Santa Clarita Diet?
Well, it's quirky, it's fun, it's dark, all in one. I mean, you got Timothy Olyphant, who is highly underrated. Drew Barrymore, who's, I mean, what's not to like about Drew Barrymore? Almost every movie she's in is good. I can't really think of a movie that she's been in or anything that she's
Charlie's Angels
been
too.
a part of. Well, yeah, there you go.
That's not helping his case.
But that's one movie. But even as a child, E.T. and then going on up, I mean, yes, Charlie's Angels 2 Full Throttle was not very good, but she is a great actress. She's hard not to like. And I just think that it's not an original story because we have so many movies and TV shows that are based off of zombies.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as the way that they go about it now. Yeah, I voted for it. But the even though the zombie thing is kind of overdone to an extent to where there's tons of shows about zombies, this kind of takes a different approach. I haven't seen anything quite like that to where it's the mother, it's the wife, the realtor who becomes a zombie. And I think that's really cool. And also, there's a lot of actors that you'll notice that are in other things that you've seen. I can't think of some of the names, but there are lots of actors in there that
Nathan
you'll
Fillion.
recognize.
You're making such a strong
Nathan
case to make me
Fillion.
want to go binge this. I don't know why I haven't gone and binged it.
There's too much stuff to binge.
I don't want
No,
to. I don't want to pitch for my competition because clearly Bandersnatch should win, but Santa Clarita Diet is worth watching. It's a fantastic show. Great dark comedy acting. Nick is exactly right. Different take on the zombie genre. It's just.
I will tell you this.
It's exactly how you would expect suburban people to actually act if one of them turned into a zombie.
And who wouldn't want to get a little head from Nathan Fillion?
Is that the second time you've used that joke in this cast?
Oh, man,
While we're alive, yeah.
Nick made a great case for it before, but he did it over on Nerd Mosh Pit. So if you guys aren't listening to Nerd Mosh Pit, you really should. You can find it on Stitcher and iTunes, or it is over at the malice-corp.com website where you click on podcasts and other media and you can listen to all the episodes there. But yeah, that's when I first heard about why it should be watched is Nick telling the Big Papa Matt and Kenny why they should be watching it. So check that out. It'll give you a better reason to go vote. So next behind that with 2 votes as well as Big Mouth. So Nudie, the bubble bath didn't seem to get you votes.
Definitely not. No. But I think the show is definitely worth a binge. I guess not enough people have fallen in love with it as I have. But, I mean, the show is absolutely disgustingly filthy in the best possible way, but also heartwarming and set in middle school. I mean, it's a great, amazing, funny ride. It's eminently quotable and has really great voice performances by some really top comedy talent. And I seriously and sincerely believe it is Maya Rudolph's best role she's ever been in. And that's saying something. I quite enjoy her work, and she is great in this show. So I highly recommend giving it a spin for the filth and hilarity for sure. And, any show with a line like, lift up your legs and show them your butthole. That's for sure.
And edit point, I'm going to.
And that's why you should vote for it, because if you don't want to see Nudie Rudy doing that ever again or with that voice.
No, I need that as my new ringtone.
So to the person that picked the Santa Clarita Diet is in the chat room, Indiana Jane, and she was making a great case in there. Nathan Fillion is in it. That's all you need to know. She said Jonathan Groff is so dramatic, and I love him. I don't know if that was in reference to that or not. She said it's actually an amazing show with really hilarious, authentic reactions to an impossible situation. So, yeah, so that was her case for why you should go vote for Santa Clarita Diet and why you should check it out and why you should binge it.
I think you should watch it. You just shouldn't vote for it.
Yeah,
no, you should vote for it too.
Next up with 6 votes is Glow, and that's Masonic Vader's pick. I really want to hear the wrestling reasons for this.
No, it's a great show with a great cast. It's great for people who want to look back in nostalgia, the 80s and 90s, kind of like Nick and the Dallas Cowboy Championships. But it is a great show. If you haven't seen it, the acting is awesome. Mark Maron is phenomenal in his role as the producer and the director of the show. It does give you a really nice behind the scenes look at this, because when you're growing up and you saw this on TV and everything, even wrestling fans were like, this is garbage and whatever and stuff, but it had a fan base nonetheless, and it took the personalities back then of wrestling to an extreme. And what's nice about the show is it actually doesn't just totally focus on the actual wrestling aspect, but everything they did behind the scenes to make it happen. And it's a testament to the women who started that organization or who wrestled with it, because of the fact of all the crap they had to go through and the sexism they had to go through. So there's some great cast in there. Like I said, I talked about Mark Maron already, Allison Brie, Betty Gilpin. There are 2 main wrestlers on there. There's actually some actual professional wrestlers that actually that are not only starring in it, but also help out with a lot of behind the scenes and the training for it. So you could obviously tell that Netflix put a lot of heart and soul into it, to where they're going to be doing season 3 here soon. And I think they've also got season 4 signed up too. So if you like the 80s and the 90s, if you enjoy a little bit of wrestling, or just be perfectly frank, just a lot of fun and comedy, it's a great show, and you'll enjoy watching it.
Okay. And your partner over on Smack Talk said that season 1 was decent and 2 is all right. So he's not helping you out in the chat room. Bearded Masters in the chat room.
Yeah, tell him to subscribe to
operation.
So if he's the brains, and he says season 2, which was last year's season, was just all right, then why would it be best binge of 2018?
No, it's because it's nostalgia. It's a great show. Enjoy it. Whatever, man. Hey, you know what? Smart
It's a
people, not
nerd
all
fight, man.
small people watch cool stuff. Jeez. I mean, you got people hold on to stuff, you know?
Well, now we go into third place, and we've already got our complaints in the chat room about why this shouldn't be even considered a binge. But Bandersnatch, Black Mirror, is in third with 8 votes. Go ahead, IC. I know you're just waiting.
This one episode of Black Mirror is a binge in itself. You could spend, I looked it up, you could spend like 6.5 hours trying to find all the different endings. It's wonderful. It's a choose your own adventure. In fact, they actually got sued by the original choose your own adventure people.
They did. They just got sued by him,
which is hilarious. Like, I didn't know that you could sue a concept, but
so
it's dark.
You either
hold on, let me get my pitch. It's dark, it's gritty, it's set in the 80s. The soundtrack is fantastic. And some of those choices are just batshit. It's amazing. There's one part where you can tell the character from the show that you're controlling him via Netflix, and then get into a ninja fight with your therapist. It's amazing. It's so, like I said, dark, weird, and I really enjoy the idea behind it. It's very meta. Especially when it feels he's being controlled.
I love how Beacon, our binge master, when he binged through The Flash and binged through Game of Thrones, now like 6 hours is not a binge, is what he says.
That's like Forrest Gump saying that marathons are not a run.
The cool thing is you have the alternative where you can sit there. If you want to take them to court, you turn to page 42. If you want to settle, you turn to page 63. I get it.
Exactly.
Yes, they need these votes just so that they can be proud of something, since they're going to be giving a ton of money over to the Choose Your Own Adventure. You know what? If the book company sues them and they win, because they are suing them, but if they win, I better get a ton of Choose Your Own Adventure books coming out, because it's been forever since I've seen any.
Right.
So
if you go to Amazon, you can buy them. I get them for my kid for Christmas.
Have new ones coming out still?
No, it's the old school originals, man, with the same artwork and everything. It's phenomenal.
Third time more since he bought a Choose Your Own Adventure board game. That sounds really cool. So yeah,
I'd rather jump to conclusions.
If you're going to jump to Amazon, if you're going to head over to Amazon and pick up some Choose Your Own Adventure books, the adventure that you should choose to go on is going through malice-corp.com and clicking on the Amazon link right there when you go to purchase, because then we get a little kickback, helps us out so we can get better stuff here, and you get the stuff that you're looking for still. So, you like how I swung that?
That was a good segue, buddy. I like that. I set it up perfectly for you.
So
let's go to second place is The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina. Go ahead, Super.
What's with the Sabrina hate? As far as I remember, you liked it, but no, the show itself is just really good. I mean, Ghosts in the Machine. There's ghosts in Sabrina. There's ghosts in the witchcraft. So it wouldn't surprise me if there's something hinky going on behind the scenes with that, because if you've watched the show, if you haven't watched the show, you guys should go watch the show because it's fantastic. To have something that was so lighthearted and a little kooky with Melissa Joan Hart and what's her face, Carolyn Ray, who's a comedian, and I can't even remember the actress that played the Aunt Zelda. To have those characters and have their core personalities remain the same, but be completely twisted into a dark world of Lucifer and, sacrificing to the Church of Night and murder and, all of these things that they have to do to balance keeping the mortal world safe, but also stay true to their, allegiance to the Dark Master is really well done. And I didn't want to give it a go because I like Riverdale and I like what they've done with that, but I was a little bit leery. I was like, well, is this just going to be like Riverdale Part 2? Is it going to be that same thing? Kind of, in the sense that it's a dark world. It's something that was light and it's, been converted to a dark world, but the writing is really good. The cast is solid, completely and utterly solid. And I'm really looking forward to see what they do with season 2. And the girl, the lead, I don't know what the actress's name is. She's fantastic.
Well, the ghosts aren't solid, right?
From Edmund.
No, the ghosts are not solid. You never see the ghost. You just see crap suddenly flying through the air. So.
And then barely leading, and I can't remember my reason for going and watching, but barely leading by 3 votes. Altered Carbon with 19 votes right now. I mean, the main thing, it's a great sci-fi tale to just sit down and binge the heck through. It's got action. It's got a great little tiny, it's got a bag of holding basically in his little pink backpack that he carries around everywhere and just has all types of stuff inside of it. But the biggest thing with Altered Carbon is when you take characters like James Bond and Bruce Wayne and Dr. Parnassus, they all have one great thing in common, and it's that it takes more than one actor to tell these great stories. And Takashi Kovacs is the same way. It takes multiple actors to tell his story. So strong characters need more than one actor, and this show really does that. And then the other thing is the supporting characters. Edgar Allan Poe, the hotel, is probably one of the best characters on Netflix that I've seen concurrently. So yeah, that's my fight.
As our producer pointed out about Altered Carbon, and I agree because I followed the same path as him. Watch the show before you read the books. The books are fantastic. The show's fantastic. Watch the show first. Otherwise, you'll be sad.
And Jack says...
so do I get to win the nerd fight by default since I had the most epic argument that wasn't heard?
What was that?
That the Cowboys won a championship in '96.
You can't just put the nerd mosh pit and be like, yeah, that one.
No, I wasn't heard on here either.
Yeah, no, you said you were talking too low. You want to give it a go one more time?
Well, no, I don't know if we have enough time because I already already did my spiel and
you're safe either way. Here's the thing, folks. These are 2-week-long nerd fights. So all these people that made choices on here, and Nick is safe because he is just fighting for the fan vote. But all the people that are on here, if they get last place in this fight, you will not have to see their faces on this podcast for 2 weeks because they are not allowed to come back until the next person that loses it gets ousted for 2 weeks. So not only is there bragging rights, there's shunning rights as well. So,
I love you guys.
What's that?
I love you guys.
I'm not voting
for you. Blatant suck up. No vote.
So, okay, we're going to move on to our main stuff. We're going to get into what the main reason we're here, and that's the nerd news, the geek news, the pop culture news. First and foremost, the big one that came up that we've been talking about a little bit that came out was the Star Trek Picard show. So we got a little bit of details about it because everybody was wondering how it was going to work, how they were going to do this show. If it was just going to be a continuation, it was going to be Old Man Picard, which they were like, how are they going to do that? Because they kind of closed off his story in Generation and showed that, he went and retired. And the details that came out is that it's going to be loosely tied to the Kelvin universe that J.J. Abrams created with the Star Trek television series, or not television, movie series, which is kind of interesting because they just put Star Trek 4 on the can and decided that they're not going to do it anymore. So for Nudie Rudy,
did they run out of lens flares?
Yeah, exactly. I want to know because he's the big Star Trek fan here. I just wanted to know what Nudie Rudy's thoughts are about them going that route with it.
It sounds like an interesting way to bring Picard back. I mean, honestly, it sounded like Patrick Stewart wasn't really interested in reprising the role unless they did something kind of different angle. And I'm very happy to have him back. Picard is my captain. So, Next Generation is my favorite Star Trek iterations. Yeah. So any excuse to get him back on and back into that role, I'm happy for. But it sounds interesting the way they're, bringing in after the destruction of Romulus and, how that's affected the Star Trek universe. And,
they said especially for him because he worked so much on the negotiations between Romulus.
It was a major part of his character was his history with that empire. And
Exactly. The only bigger
race
part might have
is
been, yeah,
Yeah,
the stuff with the
we look
board.
forward to see who Jean-Luc Picard becomes without the Romulan influence.
Yeah.
Con says Picard is my captain. His name's Locutus.
Yeah.
No, that's a cat of a friend that some of us have.
I
I
heard.
thought the show was going to be like him sitting in a chair with his little robe, crossing his leg, telling stories of old.
I would absolutely watch that.
That's what we were wondering.
I would
at first.
probably
It was
watch
gonna be
that.
something like that.
I would
But,
absolutely.
I mean-
oh my god, that's got to be.
Hanging out on the holodeck with some nice brandy.
I got it. I figured it out. It's Master Fleet Theater.
Hashtag
You
Master
are
Fleet
welcome.
Theater. There you
Hashtag
go.
of the weekend. I mean, it has been said that Picard was the one that made bald sexy. So it'll be nice to see him back on screen.
I'm just
I
waiting
wasn't the
for
one that said that. I just heard.
just waiting for Jack Malice to go off in the chat about how Next Generation was socialist propaganda.
Yeah.
He's still typing.
I mean, so
possible.
this is going to be their big, because they've got, we said 5 shows in development for the All Access channel. So this is going to be the next biggest one for them to see if they can even do anything with these other 4 shows that are in development. So I'm assuming, do you guys want it to be a long running series or a limited series?
Limited, maybe 2 seasons.
Exactly what I was.
If you go too long, you're going to undo all the good that you did at the start. So unless they tie him in with Discovery, maybe if they do a limited series to bring him back and then he goes over to Discovery, but I don't know how that would work because I think they're two different.
They're
Timeline.
No.
Everybody's like
Yeah.
a while
I think they got lucky with Generations when they were able to cross over original Star Trek with Next Generation. I don't think they could pull that off again, especially with the newer series. I think the newer series, and I've only seen bits and pieces of it. I haven't seen the full season, but just looking at the way it is and everything, it just doesn't look like it's Picard's timeline.
Mm-mm.
Well, it's
No, I
not.
don't
That's
think
why
it
they're
is.
saying he's going to be loosely. Well, this you mean Discovery?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, it is technically his timeline. It just takes place 10 years before even TOS.
Discovery
before-
takes place before the J.J. Abrams movies. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that wouldn't work then.
Yeah,
So-
no, exactly what Super said. If they did like 1, maybe 2 series, and it's sort of a character study of the different personality of Jean-Luc Picard because of the different history, with, you'd have to have cameos from like, Riker and Deanna Troi and, all the
Data. Gotta have
Yeah,
data.
of course,
I wonder-
Data, yeah. Beverly Crusher.
The only thing
Maybe
that I'm
even
wondering-
Leslie Crusher.
The only thing that I'm wondering is if it will be able to keep my attention, because growing up, Star Trek was used for me to put me to sleep.
So
Same
it's
thing
probably
with the
not.
Star Trek
Philistine.
movies.
And that was the last time I saw
I know
Nick
I have
on
an
the cast.
unpopular opinion. I know I have an unpopular opinion. I love the new Star Trek movies. I love those. But when I was
You're
growing
talking about
up
Next
watching-
Generation, right, Nick?
Yeah, the Next Generation.
So
with
how
Patrick
old were
Stewart.
you? How old were you when the show was airing?
Well, I turned 34 in March, so I was.
Yeah. So that
But I would-
it's not an unpopular opinion. At 2 years old, yes, Star Trek: The Next Generation would absolutely put you to sleep.
Yeah.
If the
Well,
Next
I wasn't
Generation was-
watching it at 2. It was still airing. It was still
If
like
the-
it was still having
If there was a new
repeats
episode of
and
Next
whatnot.
Generation airing that night, we would occasionally cut dinner short and just go downstairs to watch TV.
But I've always been a big Star Wars fan. Like,
Even at
I
this
think
point-
Star Wars is here. Star Trek is here.
Yeah, and even at this point, not Next Generation. I enjoyed Next Generation, but even at the age that I'm at now, at 38, Deep Space Nine is really good to just knock me right out. Just
Oh, absolutely.
it's just so bad.
Absolutely. You're saying Next Generation was born, and then you have Deep Space Nine, which was like, I don't know, a sedative of horse tranquilizers and fish paralyzers or something.
It's
How
like if
that-
you have insomnia, just watch Deep Space Nine.
Yeah,
how
don't-
Deep
knock you
Space
right
Nine
out.
was able to stay on for so long is well beyond what I could think of.
Because everybody loves Ferengi trading policy, Ugh, that part was brutal.
and you are never allowed to
Vote
leave
for the
the
win.
show, Nick, because of your opinion, is according to our producer Jack Malice. So, yeah. let's get on to the meat and potatoes of the stories. Game of Thrones. So we got some.
What's Game of Thrones?
Only the best
And
show
like I
ever
said,
made.
this is the last cast we ever saw Masonic Vader on.
Everyone this cast is going to say something that gets them kicked. Like 3 people so far.
Yeah, Game of Thrones. We got a little bit more details on the Game of Thrones prequel that's in development, with speculation, because they're talking about it, where it's going to be at in the timeline.
Details is a stretch.
Well, you got details on the cast. You know
Yes.
everybody who's cast, but the speculation is that it's going to take place during the Long Night story, which they said that it's going to be a prequel that.
So from Game of Thrones timelines, that's roughly 6,000 years before.
Yeah, chronicles the world's descent from golden age of heroes into the darkest hour, from the horrifying secrets of Westeros' history to the true origin of the White Walkers, the mysteries of the East to the Starks of legend. Only one thing is for sure: it's not the story we think we know. So yeah, they're saying it's one that's thousands of years in the past.
Awesome. Now, the only thing that, since I'm a big history nut, and like Game of Thrones, like as we see it, basically takes place in like what we would know as like the Middle Ages.
Mhm.
So as far as this scenery, as far as what they're wearing, kind of the castles they're in, the armory that
Are
they
you
have.
talking about like the level of technology they should have?
Yeah, basically, that's what I'm getting at. Is like the level of technology that they have. Is it going to be comparable to what they had in ancient Egypt or something like that, or are they going to do it to where it's like exactly what it is now, but just like a couple thousand years ago?
Yeah, it's going to
That's
be
what I'm
either
curious about.
they're either in the bronze / Stone Age of that world, or the technology has just been exactly the same for like 6,000 years.
Yeah, I don't think I
Right.
think the technology will be different, but I think this is going to be even more hardcore fantasy than what Game of Thrones became at the end of this. I think it's just going to be might and magic.
Yeah, absolutely. It's
True,
going to have to be a lot more fantasy focused because there's characters like the Children of the Forest and
Mhm.
the magic that comes out.
Before everything became a myth. So you've got all your myths now. Well, they had to start somewhere. That's where this is going to be.
So what's
I
going to
love
happen
dragons.
is right when a battle's about to start, it's going to stop, and all of a sudden these huge 20-sided dice are going to fall in the middle of the field, and then that's how the battles are going to start.
Well, I think it's
Well,
interesting.
four-sided real quick. Four-sided, go.
I think it's interesting because, like, George R. R. Martin said that it isn't going to be any of the stories that he hasn't finished because he doesn't want to get stuck in that same thing where the series finishes before he finishes writing.
So then he should finish his writing.
You know that's not going to happen.
If he wants that show to not go on until he's done writing it, it's never going on.
Yeah, because he said it won't be Robert's Rebellion because that's too close, and it's like just telling the same story over again. He said it won't be the Duncan Egg spin-off novellas because those are the ones he hasn't finished writing. He doesn't want to repeat what happened here, and have them get ahead of the books.
Like they did already.
Yeah, exactly. He wrote that there would be no surprise or revelations left in such a show, just the acting out of conflicts whose resolutions you already know. It would not feel too much like a twice told tale when he was talking about Robert's Rebellion. And he also mentioned the Long Night in one of his tweets. So that's why everybody's like jumping on board thinking that that's where and the Long Night was an extremely long winter.
Yeah, like
in this
30
world.
to 60 years or something like that. It's
Yeah.
where names like Bran the Builder and Lan the Clever got famous, which is why I'm really looking forward to it. Because I want to see the guy that started the Lannister house.
Yes.
But that's gonna. I mean, I don't know if I know they gave a lot of casting details. I'm not sure if that's one of them. The guy that plays the origin of Tyrion and Cersei and Jaime and Tywin Lannister has got to be a badass. Even if it was 6,000 years ago, I want to see that guy.
I would like to see more of the man that becomes the Night King. I think that would be cool. Like if he has a backstory, because
As long as
That's supposed to be part of the story, the origin of the Night King.
Yeah. As long as it doesn't turn out to be Bran Stark from main Game of Thrones, then yeah.
Bran Stark.
That's one of the theories.
Kid Bran
Interesting.
Stark or
Yeah.
Bran the Builder? Because they're both.
No.
Kid Bran
Kid
Stark.
Bran Stark. Yeah. The theory is that as the Fat Raven, he sends his consciousness back 6,000 years and becomes Bran the Builder.
Yeah,
Becomes
yeah.
the Night King.
One of the
Crazy.
theories. It's the crazy theory.
Or
Some of the comments in the chat room, Indiana Jane says Stephen King tried to help him and he still can't get the books finished. And
It's because he's still hunting peck typing on an Apple IIe.
Jack Malice, our producer, said, "Screw that guy. We get HBO to throw some money at some Sanderson epics."
Please.
Yeah.
They
So
could easily take some of Sanderson's books and turn them into series if they're looking to fill the
yeah.
Game of
So
Thrones
I'll go
hole.
for a super nerdy one. And just to make our producer scream Sanderson in the chat again, I've been rereading The Arithmetist, and that'd be fun visually.
Indiana Jane also says GOT is based on the War of the Roses, historically speaking.
Yep.
I will say this about
I haven't read about that yet. That's cool.
I will say this about the author, though, as a whole. It's actually kind of cool in a sense where he's actually controlling everything. Because how many times do you see books that are written and then they are like turned into movies and then just manipulated and just goes in all different directions? And I mean, he's trying to control it as best he can. He's not letting it out of his hands, I guess.
Absolutely. And we found Masonic Vader's hashtag for the episode, hashtag manipulized.
Took me a minute to say.
Hashtag strategery.
In terms of the how the story is gonna be told, Jack also put in a comment that no, I think it will be the same if just slightly more primitive. Martin has alluded to the fact that the society kind of resets each winter. So basically, winter is when the Matrix resets. So
yeah, that would lead me more to like Dragon Lords or Dragon Riders of Pern. Like every time there's a pass, of the thread throwing planet, like all technology kind of dies for a while.
Good night, Red Meat Posh. He's going
That makes a lot of
Wow.
sense. I haven't had a lot of time to read about the new prequel. Like I was kind of thinking that it was just going to take place after the White Walkers came about, and that's where the battle starts. That's what I was thinking. I didn't know if it would get back into the Children of the Forest taking that first man and making him the Night King. So I'm super excited about this, and I'm already nerding out right now.
It's going to be interesting. They haven't ordered a full series. This is just going to get a pilot made. So we don't even know if this, and they said even if the series does happen, it won't happen until a year after the final season of Game of Thrones. So we're not looking 2020 is the earliest that we're looking at it. And then by that time, you're going to have everybody setting up their stuff to battle against the HBO Game of Thrones with Lord of the Rings, with Wheel of Time, with the video game turned TV series on Netflix with Superman. I can't remember the name of it now. But you're going to have all these fantasy epics coming out. And now you have brand new characters. I don't know if the prequel will be able to fight like what Amazon is looking to do with Wheel of Time.
As far as I know, Game of Thrones is still the most popular show on actual cable, premium or basic or otherwise. It might not be as
Walking Dead still, but yeah.
Is it Walking Dead? Okay, those got to be 1 and 2 either way. Yeah, there's gonna be watchers for that. Like they can creating another prequel series is basically money in the bank for at least a season.
Do you think it's Walking Dead because it's on AMC versus Game of Thrones is on HBO?
Because it's not premium cable.
Yeah, it probably is. It's part of it. But even some of the cast that they've announced, Naomi Watts signed on early, so she's playing a charismatic socialite hiding a dark secret. That's nothing new in the world of Game of Thrones.
Yeah, this character has something to hide.
But she's the biggest name of the people that signed on, so is she going to go ahead start?
Which is good. No, I appreciate that because, well, that's a good question. If she's the only named character.
What they did with, I mean, you went and signed the biggest known actor at that time to play Ned Stark.
But Sean Bean is known for dying in everything.
That's true.
That is literally the meme about Sean. He has 2 memes. It's, you can't just walk into Mordor and I die in everything.
the montage of him dying in all the movies he's been in is really
just wish I could have seen him die walking into Mordor.
They have Campbell Bower, who played young Grindelwald. They've got
Naomi
recognize them without the one white eye. Star Wars Episode 9. Sheila Atim is in Harlots. Ivano Jeremiah, who's been on Black Mirror and Humans. Georgie Henley, Chronicles of Narnia. Alex Sharp, To the Bone, which I've never heard of. And Toby Regbo, who's also in Fantastic Beasts, Crimes of Grindelwald. So, I mean, looks like a good up and coming cast, because it looks like a lot of young cast that they're looking to build around.
That shouldn't be a problem.
Massive fight going on in the chat room about whether or not Martin is a hack or not.
And this is why people should be here live.
Yeah, I'm just going to throw out there because I can actually speak about it. Calling someone a hack for maybe having horrible writing skills or whatever you want to call it. Bottom line, Game of Thrones was based off this guy's idea and concept. He can't be that much of a hack if they decide to invest that much money and turn it into something.
It's not a factor of having horrible writing skills. It's the factor that he just straight stopped writing.
Glacial pace.
Yeah, he
takes forever.
You have to admit that he had at least more than half of the 5th book done before the show even came to air. So it was already successful as far as writing goes. I don't know that I would quite put it on like Wheel of Time level or Tolkien level, but it was getting pretty close up there as far as like very fantasy epics.
I love it. I would say if anybody was calling him a hack, would be people that think that he's just copying Tolkien with Lord of the Rings, because it's kind of a regurgitation of Lord of the Rings, but it's also unique at the same time.
Yeah, but to be fair, anybody that's written a fantasy epic series since then could be claimed to have copied something from Tolkien.
What were you saying, Nudie?
I said there's so little fantasy, and it's more a book of political intrigue than anything else. Barely only any surface resemblance to Lord of the Rings. Like it really is more a book about the Game of Thrones, like they're saying about political backstabbing and personalities and flawed characters, and it's way deeper than any type of reference just being another fantasy epic.
I guess the reason why I was so much into this little conversation on here and someone calling him a hack, I mean, I'm just going to throw myself out there, and if this means I'm banished, whatever. But 7 years ago, I successfully cut myself from television as a whole, and up until like 3 years ago,
are you okay?
I get into Netflix and Hulu and everything. So I don't even have. I just have a cable. I don't have cable. I just have internet, and I run off of Hulu and Netflix. So I have never seen a complete series or a season. I've seen snippets of here and there of Game of Thrones, but I've never. I can't sit there and say I've seen the entire thing. However, I know what Game of Thrones is all about, and I know that there's characters based off, and I know a lot of people that have come off of it. And to call the guy who created that a hack is stupid. And I'm going to say it because I've never seen it, and yet I know who the guy is, and I know what the thing's all about. I just never watched it. So you can't call a guy a hack for creating something that tremendous. HBO was just able, I guess, to perfect it.
Yeah, Benioff and Weiss have done a fantastic job with the source material.
That's the big thing. That's the big thing, Masonic Vader, is that we still don't know what the best portions of Game of Thrones so far have been this last part of the story, and we don't know how much of that is George R. R. Martin's
and how much is Benioff and Weiss.
Exactly. Because he's even said he wants it to still go longer because he's got more things in there that he wants to be told and stuff, but he won't he doesn't get the books out. So
I absolutely get it. I get it, but it just he's the guy who created it. Why dump on the guy? He created this.
Yeah.
He can't be a hack.
So my comparison, if you're going to compare Martin to Tolkien, which I think I'm the one that actually brought that up.
Yeah,
I didn't do that. I did not do that. Yeah. That was not me.
Where Martin will spend like 3.5 pages describing somebody's deep character flaws and their motivations, which is good. Tolkien will spend 3.5 pages describing the flowers outside of Tom Bombadil's house. So,
yeah.
Let's go into a more lighthearted chit chat because this one's getting heated. Speaking of getting,
I will stab you.
Speaking of getting heated, we have this segment we call "Somebody's Got to Talk About It."
Somebody has to talk about it.
Stories, the odd stories, and Kohler is coming out with, of all things, a smart toilet that you can talk to with Alexa and ask it to heat your seat for you. So-
What else can you ask it to do? Alexa, my cookies.
yeah,
Check my colon.
Alexa,
There is
play
going to be-
episode 1 of Alexa, play episode 1 of Game of Thrones.
it will play. It'll read. You can literally have it read everybody poop to you.
Now I just want to have a toilet that plays the Game of Thrones theme song all the time.
I just want to know if you can command it to flush by saying, Alexa, eat my crap.
I was thinking along the lines of like literally somebody will be like, Alexa, warm the seat. I'm coming to sit on you, and it won't be in a bad derogatory term.
Oh, you not have enough imagination with that.
But
I'm pretty sure it's going to be Wayne, your excrement.
Well,
Be like,
yeah,
today's
no, absolutely.
excrement was
Alexa,
such
what
and such.
how
Don't
much
they
more
already-
protein do I need in my diet?
don't they
Alexa,
already
how's
have-
my fiber intake?
Don't they already have smart toilets that aren't tied into like Alexa and stuff that do
Yeah, but
like
they're all in Japan.
yeah. This
Alexa,
is
read my log of logs.
What music would you have Alexa play? You said
You can have an Alexa diary that's your
yeah,
log
'cause
of
it's got
logs.
speakers. It's got speakers in it as well, so it'll actually play music for you.
That's crazy.
So,
Kenny G's
Rage
fitting
Against
for
the
a toilet.
Machine.
I think in this case, I have to take a page out of Chris Evans' book and say that's where technology's gone a little too far, and I don't need it in my toilet.
well,
Hard to disagree with the seat warmer.
the seat warmer's nice.
Seat warmer is fine,
Yeah,
but it's not.
that's pretty nice.
The minute that seat warmer starts talking to me and asks me if the temperature of the seat is okay for my bum,
If I
That's
get a warm
where I
seat
go
and an
for.
auto bidet, I'm gonna stay in there.
I mean, so on Super's thought, is this going too far to add Alexa to a toilet?
I don't know. It sounds kind of shitty.
If it's, do you remember from last year when there was an issue with Alexa randomly laughing in people's houses?
Oh, good.
yes.
Now picture that coming from your toilet as you're sitting on it in the middle of
Even worse. Even worse. No. Even worse. Picture it
Stop
Into the
laughing
toilet.
at me.
as you're standing over it and peeing, and all of a sudden it starts laughing at you. So many males would get complexes off of that.
I mean, at least
Yeah,
I can sit there and say Alexa is truly recording everything. How about that?
Amazon knows too much about me already.
It's the Numi 2.0 intelligent toilet and other smart bathroom products. So there's other stuff coming that was introduced at CES 2019. Their response to it was connected technology is driving innovation in the smart home category, but connectivity alone isn't enough. We believe in leading with design and seamless incorporating the right technology so that our customers can personalize their bathroom experiences to be just right for them.
Yeah,
I want it
Does
to
everyone-
encourage me, like to be like, "Good job." Now all you got to do is wipe. We're all cheering for you.
I'm
You can do
picturing.
it.
You remember the inflatable autopilot in the movie Airplane? I'm picturing an inflatable hand that will hold yours while you poop.
Eventually, Amazon starts sending you random rolls of toilet paper to kind of adjust it to your bum needs for your hairy
I would pay
bum,
for it.
or your not so hairy bums, or your sensitive bums. There you go.
It says you can ask questions about the weather outside. So yeah, it's interesting where technology's going and what they're looking to focus on.
I just want every single marketing department for every one of these big companies to have a 14-year-old on staff, where they pass the idea by the 14-year-old. And if the kid laughs, you realize, oh, this is a silly idea.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the one person that I think that would totally buy a smart toilet just because of the money that they have to burn, it would be Nick Cage. So,
Son of a bitch.
Alexa, play Con Air while I'm shit.
Alexa, put the bunny back in the box.
So I had to get the drop.
Nick Cage.
Exactly.
But in this case,
yeah.
it's a brown bunny. That's a triple.
Okay. That's that's this week's cast. On that note, yeah.
We're ending on brown money. Come on, no.
We're ending on a brown note.
Oh boy.
Sorry. Picon says poop jokes. Yeah.
So I'm still thinking about trying to ask Amazon or Alexa to play the overture of 1812 while I'm taking a dump.
Or Ride of the Valkyries.
I was going to say Ride of the Valkyries. That would be pretty good.
I love the smell of. Never mind.
Oh my gosh.
Or like in the morning you're going and all of a sudden it's nice and quiet and then all of a sudden Robin Williams yells out, "Good morning!"
Alexa, Febreze.
All right. Let's go with our hashtags of the week and where we can follow everybody. I'll give you my hashtag of the week because it's coming based off of us talking about Picard and his show. So my hashtag of the week, if you guys want to interact with me at @mest_MaliceCorp, is hashtag MaliceCast. MaliceCast Bridge. Tell me which character from either Star Trek original series or Star Trek The Next Generation each person of the MaliceCast would be. Yeah. So that's mine.
I've always felt like I was a number 2, so.
Well, you do have a randomly changing beard.
Make it so. For me to tie in this week's cast and last week's cast, I think I'll go with the hashtag potty mouth. Yeah. Share a little filthy anecdote. Keep it, PC for the Twitter group, but let's get some filth going.
I was so mad that afterwards when you said hashtag nudie bubble bath, I didn't say keep it clean.
Yeah.
I'm like, we missed that pun.
Hashtag shampoo is better.
Yeah. All right.
Quit looking at me, Swan.
Anybody else have anything, or where we want us to know where you can follow you?
You know what? I'm gonna put
about the ghosts in the machine, but then that's too close to the ghost in the shell, and then people might start thinking I'm talking about Scarlett Johansson, and that's just going to devolve from there.
You know what? I know what I'm gonna do. I'm just gonna do hashtag Alexa and then tell her what you would do if you were on the potty. How about that? I'm gonna do that.
You're gonna have the most responses of any of us by a long shot.
What would you want to hear while you're on the potty from Alexa?
Yes. What would you tell hashtag Alexa? What would you ask her to do?
Hashtag who does number 2 work for?
And
Captain Picard. Captain Picard does.
Where can we follow you, Masonic?
Of course, you can follow us. Follow me at Masonic Vader on Twitter, Masonic Vader Facebook, Masonic Vader 71 PlayStation Network, and of course, always follow Malice Smack Talk. Boom.
Ding. Super.
Well, you can follow me at Super Hoopian Nut on Twitter, and then Super Hoopian Freak on Instagram. And I'm always on Twitter, so you can always come talk to me. I like interacting with new people.
And Nick, how about you?
You can follow me at Raider0314 on PlayStation Network, as well as Twitter. And also follow us as we hopefully get a new episode coming of Nerd Mosh Pit at Nerd Mosh Pit, Twitter.
Nice. And then if you guys want to follow this cast, make sure to follow us at Malice Corp, or you can follow us at All Nerd Podcast. And you can follow our producer, Jack Malice, at Jack_Malice, and tell him why you guys out there should be replacing us as the castmates on this show after this terrible ending. So,
and also me at Icy Zorro.
And you and I didn't know if you said it when you were saying to check the notes,
on all the things at Icy Zorro.
So I apologize. I was a little bit under the weather today. So with that, thank you guys for coming and joining us for the show. We'll be back next Friday to talk all things nerd, 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. If you want to know when that's actually going live, make sure to check out the Twitch channel. There is now a counter that will be there that will doing a countdown for when the next stream starts, or you can just subscribe. Just hit that like button, that little heart up there. subscribe to the channel if you have Twitch Prime, and yeah, you'll be notified when we go live. So thank you guys. We will see you next Friday, and you keep nerding on.
Oh, Alexa, I got a turtle head poking out.
Oh, God.